Welcome, everyone. Here we are with the sports writers, Phil Stacy, Matt Williams of the Salem News, Nick Giannano, Gloucester Times, talking North Shore sports. And we've got basketball, hockey, and maybe some other things as well coming up in this week's edition of the program. Everybody's ready to go. We also have the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, not too far away. But Nick, let's begin. You and I were both in Manchester last night for the Newburyport Manchester Essex game, boys basketball game. Both teams undefeated in the Cape Ann League coming into this game last night, Monday night, and we knew only one would remain undefeated at the end of it, and it turned out it's Manchester Essex now with a very nice 15-0 record on the season, which so Nick, let's get your take. It was at 56. 44, 12-point game, but a great defensive game, unbelievable defensive game last night.
Yeah, I think 54-42, so either way, 12 points. But yeah, I mean, Manchester was playing at home, obviously getting up for this game. It was a big one in the Cal. I mean, both teams, Newburyport and Manchester, already pretty much clinched their division titles in the Baker and the Kinney. But this one was to remain undefeated in the Cal, and obviously for Manchester to remain undefeated on the season. So they went to 15-0. You know, Newburyport was impressive. They definitely have a really good team, and they came out firing early. I think they went up 14-7, something like that, Bill. And you know, Manchester it took them a little bit to settle in, but what a defensive battle. I mean, a 54-42 game to hold that. For the Hornets to hold that Newburyport team to just 42 points. I mean, I don't have the final shooting percentages, but neither team shot great. And that was obviously a product of terrific defense. So I thought the Hornets matchup zone defense really got the job done, as it has all season. And Newburyport's, I know, is a good shooting team, a good three-point shooting team, but they were closing out on the shooters, not giving a lot of good looks. I think Newburyport hit 4, maybe 5 threes on the evening. And then, of course, in the second half, 2-point game at the half, Manchester was leading. Third quarter, kind of back and forth. Neither team had a lot of luck scoring the ball in that quarter. And then in the fourth, Cade First, Manchester's leading scorer. And, you know, personally, I think he's the best player in the Cal, definitely one of the best players around in general, averaging 24 points. He got 24 again. And in that fourth quarter, he really got going after a slow start. So, but he had 2 back-to-back threes, and then he hit a pull-up jumper, and I think it was an 8-0 run by himself. So that kind of helped seal the deal. And Newburyport didn't have anyone that scored more than 10 points. They had a balanced attack, but, you know, Manchester did a good job limiting any guys from going off. And I was impressed with that matchup between First and Sam Craig for Newburyport. That kid is quite the defender. And you know, speaking with Cade after the game and the coach, it took him a little while to adjust to that kind of defense because he doesn't see it every night in the Cape Ann League. Craig blocked his shot 3 or 4 times in the first half, and it just took him a little bit to adjust to that physical defense and that athleticism from Craig. So that was a great matchup to watch. And then down low, you had 6'6" guy for Manchester, Eddie Herreyes, going against 2 6'5" guys in Finn Brennan and Brett was the other guy's name. I can't think of his first name off the top of my head. I obviously don't see Newburyport every day, but those 2 guys are coming in at like 6'4", 6'5". So not every day you see a big matchup like that in the paint, especially in the Cape Ann League, and that was a good one to watch. But yeah, heck of a win for Manchester. Unfortunately, these 2 teams won't see each other again. They're in different divisions. Obviously, Newburyport in Division 3 and Manchester in Division 4. And the new rankings came out today. They got the Clippers at number 14 in Division 3, and Manchester's up to number 5 in Division 4. So 2 teams that I think could certainly make a run. Manchester, especially in Division 4. And again, they're not going to play each other again, but we got the one matchup, and that was probably the game of the year in the Cape Ann League.
Yeah, I can't add much to what you said, Nick, but I was just impressed with the athleticism on both teams. And in particular, I've been hearing about and talking to both coaches this year twice, Eddie Herreyes and also, as you mentioned, First, 2 incredible athletes and their roles that they carve out for themselves. and then they're complemented with their teammates. So I was totally impressed. The game was all that I expected. It was not the game necessarily that I did expect because of the defenses were just so ferocious, but that in itself speaks volumes for both of these two teams, to be quite honest with you. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. And like you said, those Burst and Horaeus just complement each other so well. You got one traditional big man and one traditional scoring guard with some size. So they play very well off each other in the pick and roll and within the offense, and know where each other's at all times. And then Newburyport, again, they have depth and they have height and they have physicality and aggressiveness on defense. So it was a great matchup.
yeah, and to Newburyport's credit, Horaeus couldn't really go off on them. He had his
No,
moments, but he's tenacious, but he didn't go off on them. You know what I'm
no, I
saying?
think they had him for 13 points, 8 rebounds. So another solid game for him, but nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't dominate by any means.
I mean, that speaks to Newburyport, I think. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's our report, Phil, on the Manchester Newburyport game.
That was pretty in depth. That was good. I mean, I was going to follow that up by asking Nick, as someone who has never seen first play, what is it that enables him to get open when he's got defenders draped all over him and he gets through those cold spells and finds a way to get hot, even though he's the focal point of every opponent's game plan?
Yeah, well, he's very patient with the basketball. He's got a good tight handle, and he can kind of pick his spots, weave his way through traffic. He's not afraid to take guys off the dribble, and he just makes good decisions. He can finish great around the rim. He had a couple nice reverse layups last night, and just using his pivot foot well. So, he can get out in transition and get on the fast break. He's quick, he's athletic, but I think it's more so his patience and his IQ that allows him to kind of carve up those defenses. And then obviously he's got a great shot too. He can knock down jumpers off the dribble with the best of them. And he doesn't shoot too many catch and shoot balls. He's usually the one handling the ball. Although I did see him in the corner quite a bit last night, playing off the ball, and then he'd get it and drive. But yeah, he's a complete player on both sides of the ball. And he's physical. He's about 6'2", I would say 6'1" to 6'2". He's got some strength to him, so he can outmuscle some guys. He wasn't doing that to Craig of Newburyport. That kid matched up really well with him, but yeah, just his patience and his ability to get into the lane.
Is he able to elevate in the paint?
I haven't seen him throw any down. Horaeus has thrown down quite a few dunks that I've seen, but I haven't seen First get up for a dunk. It's funny, he's had some fast break layups where I think, maybe he's going to elevate for this one, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure he would tell you he could dunk, but I haven't seen it in a game.
Yeah, that Craig was an outstanding defensive player for Newburyport too, Samuel Craig. And I mean, what did you have him for, Nick? How many blocks did you have him for? 6?
Yeah, I had him for five or six blocks, and one was questionable. We were going back and forth whether it was a block or not on a breakaway on First. He missed a layup. I think he might have got a piece of it. So if that was the case, 6 blocks. And he had a couple steals too. So yeah, he was impressive. He didn't score that much, but he made a huge impact on the game in other ways.
Yeah. Again, great athleticism last night for sure on both sides. All right, Phil, where should we go? Anything? Oh, tonight, as we speak on Monday, the Marblehead boys and Peabody
Tuesday.
boys. What's that?
Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday.
Yes. You said as we speak today, Monday, and it's Tuesday.
I said Monday. I'm sorry.
You did.
I'm speaking on Tuesday. I did speak a little bit on Monday, but let's not go into that. But Tuesday, here we are on Tuesday afternoon, and tonight, Marblehead and Peabody will resume their game, which was stopped several weeks ago in Marblehead when the roof wouldn't stop leaking with 3:08 to play in the first quarter. So those two teams will resume that. I'm going to shoot over to that game, but I'll tell you the first 5 minutes of that game, nearly 5 minutes of that game, were just classic matchups between Peabody and Marblehead. Marblehead going inside for their buckets and Peabody going, perimeter for theirs. And since that time, Peabody did beat them the following night over there in Peabody, the next scheduled game on the schedule. But whatever, it'll be the resumption of the game that had 3:08 to play in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken on the time.
Yeah, Willie will be there tonight.
Oh, nice.
Now, are those two teams in the same division in the NEC? I can never remember. They're in two different divisions, right?
No, same division.
Same division. So this will be, a big one for the title, right?
More or less, yeah. I mean, PVD's got 2 to play. I think they've kind of clinched a share, but can get it outright. I believe they're 10-1, and Marblehead has 3 losses in the league at this juncture. And then Masco, Beverly, and Salem have 4 apiece, I believe. I'd have to go back and double check that to be sure. I think Marblehead's 9-4 overall or something like that, and PVD, of course, is 15-2 and just rolling. So
Yeah.
should be a good matchup. I mean, you want to get as many wins as you can. Not that it really seems to matter. I mean, 15 wins, and right now you're going on the road in the first game of the tournament, which is kind of messed up if you ask me. But I mean, there should be. I know the schedule is not very good, but if you're gonna go fit, a team with 15 wins shouldn't be below a team that has 4 wins. I mean, I understand, like, okay, they're not as good as like some of these 11-3 teams or whatever, but I mean, 15 wins, like, yikes. Like, I don't know how many more games you're supposed to win. But certainly they go out and lose a few more, then they're going to be dropping in those rankings, which could be even worse. So
Isn't
not
that
great,
the
but
argument last year that, what was it, classical girls basketball had? Were they 20-0 last year?
Yeah.
20 and
And they didn't even make the top 32 in the power rankings. And I guess maybe, not fair, but as the power rankings did play out, they had to play a preliminary round game and lost, right?
they did, yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
again, like, I know the NEC is not great. I think the NEC boys basketball is actually a little bit better than the GBL girls. I mean, I hope. I mean, PBD's got at least 2 college basketball players on their team. Two kids that are going to probably play in the Commonwealth Coast Conference next year as freshmen. So, I mean, they're not like pushovers. I think it's kind of crazy. And I was going to ask you, Nick, too. I mean, we see Newburyport ranked about 10 places higher than Salem in the Division 3 rankings. Now, I may be being provincial about this, but I mean, if it's Witches Clippers, you can give me the Witches, 10 times till Tuesday. I don't know if Newburyport's going to be able to beat Salem. So,
I think they could. I think they could, and I think Salem. I think it would be a good game. I don't know if they're 10 spots different in the rankings. That might be a little extreme, but Newburyport's got some players. I mean, they're really athletic. We've talked about them, obviously, and I like Salem. I think those 2 guards are awesome, and they got athletes all over the place from the football field as well. So that'd be a fun match.
Newburyport beat Beverly up in the Lawrence tournament.
I think Beverly won that game in overtime, right, Bill?
No. Newburyport beat Beverly in overtime.
Newburyport won in overtime. Yep, my mistake.
Yeah.
And St. John's Prep beat Newburyport.
And I mean, we're talking about the 2 top teams in the Cape Ann League, Newburyport and Manchester Essex. Manchester Essex beat Peabody earlier this year. Albeit, I think Peabody's playing better basketball now than they were at the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah, that'd be a totally different game the second time around.
But I'm not taking anything away from Manchester Essex. Don't get me wrong, but I just have a feeling this is totally aside from that score because I didn't see the game. But I think Peabody's playing a lot better right now than they were.
But even Marblehead at 9-3, which is a pretty good record, is outside of the top 32 in Division 2, and they were Elite 8 team last year. It's like, I don't know, 9-3 seems pretty good to me, and I just don't think the NEC's like that bad. I mean,
and it's not like Marblehead's got bad losses really either.
I don't think reflective of how good. I'm not saying the NEC's great. Like, I wouldn't put it on par with the Merrimack Valley Conference or anything, but it's better than these numbers are showing, I think.
Better than the Cal, I think, by and large.
That's what I'm saying. Like, again, like Peabody and Marblehead and Salem all have really good records, and for whatever reason,
I mean, this is what, year 3 now of the power rankings. Haven't we seen though that if a league, if the bottom feeders drag it down, that's what tends to hurt the most? And is that the case here?
I don't know. I mean, were the bottom feeders worse last year? Like, Marblehead was a top, 12, 15, something like that? I don't know.
Well, Marblehead last year went into the tournament and won 2 games, right? On the road, I think, right? Didn't they do that? Or
they did.
Or won one and then lost the second one on the road, but they had a huge win on the road in the tournament last year.
I thought they were a higher seed. I could be mistaken. You know, I just find it curious. Like I says,
Well,
I'm
was it
not saying
because
these are.
Beverly was playing, Beverly had a stronger roster, and therefore they were playing a much stronger non-league schedule, and that raised the league as a
Yeah.
whole up?
Yes.
I think the schedule's the same for Beverly. They just haven't won those games. I don't think they changed their schedule much.
No, they played a tough sketch.
Yeah, they're not
Well,
playing like, North out of Worcester or anything like that.
Well, they're in that Commonwealth Motors tournament, at which Newburyport was in. That's where they met. And so those are great teams in that tournament. And Newburyport's 2 losses are to D1 teams.
Mm.
Or they're third loss.
Now they're 3 losses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Marblehead,
I just
I'm
find it
looking
interesting.
here. Marblehead was 10 last year in Division 2, and they were
And what-
13 and 4.
13-4. So they're 9-3 and they're 39th right now. It just
Yeah, it
seems,
doesn't make
you
much
know,
sense.
I don't know. You know,
And they won.
but I find it interesting. The girls, which I think we'd all agree that NEC girls basketball is worse than the boys, top to bottom, right?
Yeah.
And you see Peabody,
Talent-wise, yeah, top to bottom, yes.
and you see Peabody girls are still pretty high, even though they're on a schneid. You know, compared to the boys anyway. Masco boys, Beverly girls are still, you know, in the top 32, and Masco as well. So I find that interesting. I would have assumed the opposite as far as the boys and the girls in the NEC with the power rankings goes. I would have thought that would be reversed personally.
And just as an aside, how about Swampskip boys beating Beverly? That was a big win for them, huh? But they beat them by 20 points or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it's
they're
Groundhog Day over
fighting.
there in Beverly. They're
And that
very
was after
frustrated.
Beverly
I mean,
blew out Masco.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it was kind of a strange week. And, Matt Karakoutis is saying we got to get to 10 wins. I mean, he's not banking on a top 32 ranking. I mean, I didn't check and see what they were today, but what was Beverly when it came out today?
in the 50s, I want to say 50.
Yeah. So I mean, they don't win 10 games, they're probably not getting in, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, when you look at their down the stretch, who they have, I mean, so that Swampscott loss could be huge in the big picture for them.
Yeah.
They just had a tough set. I mean, I think they've lost 8 games and they've been ahead at halftime in at least 4 of those. They've just had some really tough third quarters and second halves, which is, unfortunate. It's just kind of a trend. And I know they've tried everything they can think of to fix it. And they've just kind of fallen victim to runs by the other teams there in the third quarter. I mean, they're in most of these games. That's
Right.
why their margin is so tight. You're really talking about a possession here, a possession there. I mean, they're certainly not getting blown out by anybody. And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with probably next year and the year after that. But it's really important for the seniors to get those 10 wins and get into the tournament and keep that streak alive. And they really just have to figure out a way to stem that tide in the third quarter and close out some of these leads that they have.
Well, I mean, if you look, I think their last 3 games, they play Haverhill twice, and then they play Tewksbury. So
Oof. Yeah,
there's
it's
no
not easy.
gimmies there.
No.
And then before that, they have Salem this Friday, and I want to say Winthrop at home a week from today. So there isn't any one of those games where you can look at and say, well, that should be a win. I mean, they're going to have to work for any of those wins, let alone getting 3. I mean, that's going to be pretty tough.
No, but I would say, I mean, perhaps with the exception maybe of the Haverhill games, there's not many games there where you look and say they should be a loss either. That they should be
No,
games
you're
you gotta
right.
work,
You're
right?
right.
So that's how you want it, I
But
guess.
to bring up your point from earlier, like Jekyll and Hyde, which team shows up?
Right. But you know what? If you're a
Is
competitor,
it the team that led Marblehead by 16 after 1 quarter? Or is it the one that ended up losing that same game by 11?
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, they had the exact same story with Peabody. They were up huge at halftime and went really, really cold in the third quarter. So it's just tough.
It's
That's
tough
part of
when
learning.
your younger players are being asked to play big minutes and lead the team. And, I think Beverly's better players are the underclassmen. So, yeah, that is tough.
Well,
Well,
they're playing meaningful basketball, and that's what you want, right?
Right,
But,
right, it is.
it's hey, and that's to borrow a phrase from one of the coaches from last night. It's like, hey, you know, are we going to hope that we make the state tournament, or are we going to go out and make it happen? You know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that they're going to
That was
try
a
to go
great
for the
quote from
second.
Frank. That was a really good quote.
Well, when you have young, a lot of coaches, I heard it already this year a few times. When you're playing young players, consistency is one of the things you're really working on to achieve. And if you're young, the consistency just isn't going to be there. I guess. Phil, to your point, as you're talking about that score in the Marblehead Beverly game at one point, that game this year. Hey, I'm looking at the clock here, so we got to move this along here very quickly. So I think I have a plan here, a new plan. So
A plot, if you will.
what's that?
A plot, if you will.
Yeah, so it's like having a shot clock here in basketball or whatever. But Phil, I'm gonna ask you, maybe I'm gonna just jump to boys hockey very quickly. Is the team to talk about this week Marblehead boys?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Talk to me about them.
I'm glad you brought that up. They're now ranked 6th in the power rankings. I mean, they've shot way up. A win over an unbeaten team will do that for you, but this is no fluke. Marblehead is 8-8, but they've won 6 in a row. They've won 8 out of 10. They started the year 0-6 with 5 1-goal losses, but they stuck with the process, and it's paying off. They're getting great goaltending from Leo Burge. The defense has played terrific in front of him, led by Hogan Sedke, and they're getting all kinds of offensive production from Kyle Hart and Avon Radovsky and James Sarian, and on and on and on it goes. Crew Monaco, all these different guys, Charlie Grenier picking it up and scoring these timely goals. The win over Winthrop, which had been undefeated. Of course, Winthrop running roughshod through the Northeastern Conference. They got Petey Silverman, who had like 40 points in 13 games. He's almost a cinch to be player of the year again in the conference. But Marblehead went in there, grabbed a 3-0 lead after 2 periods, and hung on. I shouldn't say hung on, pulled off a 4-1 win. So, yeah, they're playing great. Great job by Mark Marfione and his staff over there. They're just really, really playing well right now. And on the flip side of that, I shouldn't say the flip side, but the opposite end of that, you have St. John's Prep, which was 12-1 and just won the Catholic Conference for the first time in 11 years. Now they've lost 2 in a row. Upset by Arlington Catholic this past Saturday. Eagles outshoot them 4-1, but you got a team that's just packing it in defensively, gets a lead, and isn't going to let you score on how many shots you take. That's what happens there, and that's coming off of an overtime loss to Catholic Memorial. So the Prep will hope to turn things around, starting with St. Mary's Olin this Wednesday. So 2 polar opposites there. I think both will be fine long run, but Marblehead's a really good story right now.
Willie, let me just jump to you. What's a team to make note of in girls hockey right now? We had the St. Mary's win over Peabody last night. But what are you looking at?
Just looking at the Garden. Really, let's hope they play again, and let's hope it's at the Garden this time instead of before that. But we're gonna have to jigger with the seedings a little bit to try to make that happen. Right now, 1-5, so matched up for the semis. So we're gonna want to try to avoid that. I think Winthrop is laying in the weeds a little bit. I mean, they're still number 9 there in Division 1. They still got to play Peabody again next Monday. That's an opportunity for Peabody to sort of build some power points there and hope to, kind of move up or down a little bit. I think that's really the story. I mean, you got to shout out Victoria Willington from Beverly. She's a converted defenseman, forward skater who started learning goalie about 3 weeks ago and made her first start in net on Saturday and got a shutout win. So that's pretty good. You got to shout out the Lampert clan, Matt, and of course the Todd father. There's not two better goalie coaches around than those 2 guys. And for them to teach her and for her to take the teaching and be this good, this fast, I mean, that's truly remarkable. Like that's a pretty great story there over in Beverly. So I think the Panthers are a team to watch. I've been kind of saying that all year, but just as far as the stories of the week, like that's a pretty good one. You don't see that very often. A girl step into the nets and get a shutout, not just in her first start in high school, but her first start in her whole life.
What about a girls basketball team that we should be watching here right now or making some news here in the last week or so?
Well, I mean, Masconomet. Go ahead, Willie.
I was going to say, geez, Salem hasn't had very many wins, but they did have a triple-double on Monday night. That's pretty rare by Isley Severino she had 11 blocks. So it wasn't even rebounds and assists, it was blocks. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I don't know that we've necessarily tracked those over the years. I mean, it's the first one certainly that I'm aware of this year. If there's others, please, let us know on Twitter. We'd love to have like a list or something like that. But that's pretty cool. I mean, again, like Salem short bench and they do have a win on the season, not many, and didn't win this particular game, but that's still a pretty cool thing for a building program for a girl to have a triple double.
I think too, and Nick, you might talk more to this, but I noticed that the Rockport girls basketball team qualified for the state tournament with a win last night at Cristo Rey. And, what's remarkable is they have 6 girls on the varsity. They
Yeah.
had 8, and now they're down to 6 with injuries and whatnot. They have an 8th grade point guard, Sonny Gallagher. They have some 9th graders contributing. I don't believe they have any seniors, Nick, if that's right.
They might have one, but I'd have to double check on that.
Yeah, it's really remarkable how well they've been playing. And again, it's not like they're not playing a schedule like Peabody or Masco do, but they're playing a schedule that's appropriate for the size of the school they have, and they're in the Division 5 state tournament. So congratulations to the Vikings.
Yeah, things are going well for the Hoopers in Rockport. I mean, the boys already qualified. They got their 11th win last night, beating North Reading by about 20 points. They hit 13 threes in that game. So
Wow.
Rockport's been a fun team to watch. They got some good shooters, and yeah, we'll see
I
if the
think all
boys
3 of
make it.
their winter teams will make the tournament because boys hockey has a losing record, but they're pretty ensconced in the middle of that Division 4 playoff pack, so they should get in. They might even get a home game.
Yeah, not too bad for a little Rockport.
Nope.
A lot of great people come out of Rockport. I had to say that, I guess. Yeah.
I know a couple.
Yeah. Do you really?
I
Okay.
do. Yeah.
One more thing about girls basketball. What every year we have a battle, Bishop Fenwick and St. Mary's. Now St. Mary's has an outstanding record. They do have, I believe, maybe a couple losses, play a tough schedule.
Yeah.
Fenwick, I think, also they have a couple losses too, don't they?
There's 2 losses to Fian. Although they did lose to Wachusett the other day. They lost to Wachusett.
Yeah, 3 losses, all 3 to the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams in Division 1. So
Yeah.
you're putting stock on the power rankings. That's pretty good for the Crusaders, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right.
They would be lording down over the Division 3 rankings, I would say.
Oh, they're in D2, I believe, now. So
Oh,
they'd probably have
man.
a little trouble, but they'd be certainly in the top 2 or 3. I mean, they'd be final. You could pencil them in for the Final 4, easily.
Yeah, they play again, Bill, on Valentine's Day night. So you can take your sweetheart over to the Fenwick Bandbox Gym and catch a pretty good game over there.
Do they play on Valentine's Day?
They do, yeah. They play St. Mary's.
Oh, it is St. Mary. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
they play St. Mary's. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. A sweetheart of a matchup, as they call it.
Yeah, very good. All right.
Yeah.
14th of February, I believe, right?
That is correct.
All right. You remember I remember these kinds of romantic things. That's just me. But all right, guys. Super Bowl.
I think there's only the 4 of us. I think there's only one honey dripper in this group because he's still a young man and he's he's still in the well, he's not even married yet.
Well, he's engaged, though.
but he's not
I mean,
married.
come
So
on.
yeah. So he's still in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, I guess
unless
so.
the rest unlike the rest of us barnacle crusted old men here,
Honeymoon phase. Yeah. All right. Who do you guys like in the Super Bowl? Kansas City, San Francisco. I guess those are the 2 teams.
If I was putting money on it, I would probably take the Chiefs in a heartbeat. Especially since they're getting 2 points, 2.5 points.
Yeah, I think it's at 2 points right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're a proven commodity. Even with a spotty receiving core, Mahomes, Pacheco, Kelsey, Rashi Rice has emerged for them. and they're doing it with defense. I mean, the defense has been great. That was always the Achilles heel there.
Yeah.
I like San Francisco. I mean, they got star power up the wazoo. I think it'd be great for guys like Kittle and McCaffrey and Purdy to win a title. But yeah, I mean, if it were me, I would take the Chiefs. And I don't even, you hear a lot about, you don't want the Chiefs to win Super Bowls, Mahomes catch up to Brady. I could care less about that, honestly. Like, I want to watch the good teams win, and I like Mahomes. Honestly, I think he's a lot of fun to watch.
He is. He is.
And
Yeah.
that team is, they may be like an enemy. I mean, the Patriots aren't competitive now with them, but back in the day, it was great to watch the Patriots go in there and beat them for the AFC Championship and whatnot. But now that's not happening. I just want to see good football, and they're fun to watch. And not that San Francisco isn't; they're a lot of fun too. But I would have preferred to see Detroit win that NFC Championship game. So.
How about the game Travis Kelce had though in the to get to the Super Bowl? I mean, he had some great catches. I mean, those are fantastic catches that he was making. The first
Yeah, I mean,
touchdown pass,
He
and then
seems
others.
like kind of a goofball. Like when he gets interviewed after they win it and all, he's like, quoting like the worst Beastie Boys song.
He's got some
from.
Gronk in him in that regard.
Yeah, a little bit of
He's not as much of a meathead, I don't think, but
no, but I mean, as a player and as a clutch player, like he's ridiculous.
yeah.
He's unbelievable. How can you, as a sports fan, how can you not? I mean, I despise the Montreal Canadiens, like always have. But how could you not look at a guy like Guy Lafleur and be like, that guy is nasty, or like Patrick Roy, like, Jesus, this goalie is one of the best goalies of all time. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I lean Chiefs as well. I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but if I had to pick, I think that's who I'd go with. I know they're a little bit banged up too. They got some injuries on the line and whatnot, but I don't know. Does Brock Purdy show up in the biggest game of his career? And is the pressure going to get to him at all? I think that could be a factor too. I mean,
that may be a cool story if the Mr. Irrelevant beats this generation's Tom Brady, like
right.
an unbelievable story.
Yeah, and he's been great. You can't take anything away from him.
No, all the guy does is win.
Yeah.
But Shanahan does great until they get to these type games. I mean, he lost in one Super Bowl before. They've, but can he beat Andy Reid? Andy Reid seems to have like a foolproof method now. I mean, since he got that first one, they lost to Tampa Bay, but they've stayed on that same track. They won another one after that. So I don't know.
I'd love to see too, with the Niners being the favorite here, I feel like a lot of people are still picking the Chiefs. Past 20 or so years, how many of the favorites in the Super Bowl have actually won? I know the Patriots were probably favored in a few of those, but I feel like the underdog, they pull it out quite often.
I heard this morning, it's something like, and I'm going off the top of my head here. So what is this, like the 58th Super Bowl? So say like the favorites are something like 36-21 or something. It's still like a pretty good margin.
Yeah, okay.
They win it. But I mean, yeah, there are instances where the Patriots beat the Rams the first time, or the
right.
Jets beat the Colts, or
probably both of the Super Bowls against the Giants. Giants were definitely underdogs in those, right? So
yeah.
Eagles, yeah. Even last year, it says the Chiefs opened as favorites against the Eagles, but then by the time the game run around, so much money come in on the Eagles that the Chiefs were actually getting points by Sunday. So interesting.
Were the Patriots an underdog to Seattle?
They may have been. They may have
by
been,
a point, maybe, or so.
Yeah, again, it was probably like a point or two, right?
They may have been. I think it's interesting. I haven't dug into the game too much. I kind of feel like if it's a close game, that probably favors Kansas City. I think like if San Francisco wins, it's probably going to be a blowout. They're just going to overwhelm them, kind of similar to what happened with Tampa against KC and with, Seattle against Denver, a bunch of years ago now. I just feel like in a close game, Mahomes is going to pull it out and Shanahan and Purdy are going to screw it up. So I think if it's a blowout, if it ends up being a one-sided game, I think that'll be San Francisco. I don't see the Chiefs winning a one-sided game. Like I think San Francisco is going to have to get off to a good start and really stay ahead the whole way if they want to win this thing. Is kind of my gut feeling on it without a lot of statistical evidence to back that up.
I'll leave you with this. I'm looking forward to watching the game, but if my wife wants to go to an early dinner that night, because there won't be many people out, I'm going to go to dinner, and I'll catch it when I come back.
You know, I tell you what, if you're interested in placing a bet and don't know where to do it, just listen to sports radio for 30 seconds and there'll be a
Oh, God, I
commercial
know.
to tell
Yeah.
you where you might be able to place a bet for this
Yeah.
Super Bowl. All right. Just thought I'd pass that along to you folks looking to wager. Not me, though. That's for sure. All right.
Small,
Gentlemen.
small ones. That's the key. Small.
All right. Okay. All right.
I'll do
$1
my-
to
I'll
make
do my
12. That'll
squares.
keep you going.
I'll do my
Squares.
squares. Maybe get lucky with that. Yeah.
Ah,
That's
that's
as dangerous. That's as risky as I ever got. Okay. There you go, men. Good talking with you, and we will talk again soon.